Hi golfers, Nick here from Nick Taylor Golf. In today's video, we're going to take a look at Rickie Fowler's golf swing and compare him to the stack and tilt model. A lot of golfers are led to believe that from the top of the backswing here, you have to rotate. But Rickie moves his hips forward, extends, pushes his legs up. The first thing I would say, I think Rickie's swinging it absolutely awesome at the moment. If you take a look at his current golf swing, we've got some iron shots and some driver shots here. I think he's swinging it pretty well. So first thing we do is compare him to the fundamentals of the stack and tilt golf swing. First key fundamental of the stack and tilt golf swing is contact, and that's controlling the low point of the golf swing, where the club hits the ground. And as you can see here with his irons, Rickie's always making contact with the ball first, then the ground. The second key fundamental of the stack and tilt golf swing is power, and you can see here Rickie hits the ball a long way. He's carrying his driver over 300 yards, so he makes good contact and he hits the ball a long way. The third key fundamental of the stack and tilt golf swing is controlling the curve of the golf ball. And I think Rickie has really good control over the curve of the ball. He can draw it and he can fade it. So I would say that he ticks all the boxes of the three key fundamentals of the stack and tilt golf swing. Don't tell anyone, but every good player does the three key fundamentals of the stack and tilt golf swing. Next up, we're going to compare Rickie's golf swing to the 10 words of the stack and tilt golf swing. First two words are weight forward. And weight forward is basically where your weight is in the golf swing. And the best golfers move their weight forward into the finish. So if you watch Rickie's lower body movement, he keeps his weight forward with his lower body and then moves it progressively forward into the finish. The second two words are shoulder down, and that references the tilt of the shoulders. So in the backswing, the left shoulder moves down, and in the follow through, the right shoulder moves down. Every good player tilts their shoulders in the golf swing, as does Rickie. The next two words of the stack and tilt golf swing are hands in. And when we talk about the hands moving in, we talk about the hands moving in on the backswing and in the follow through. So as you can see here, Rickie moves his hands inwards in the backswing and in the follow through, like the stack and tilt golf swing. You'll notice at the top of his backswing, his arm is across the line of his shoulders, so he's not lifting his arm. If you lift your arm, then you have to then drop it back in on the downswing. So Rickie moves his hands inwards in a circle around his body on a tilted angle, like we suggest you do in the stack and tilt golf swing. The next two words of the stack and tilt golf swing are arm straight. When we're referencing the arm straight, we're talking about where the arms are just after impact and into the follow through, and you'll see that the best players keep their arms straight through impact and the follow through. Now in the golf swing, we suggest that you don't flex the arms and pull them apart. So in the backswing, this right arm will bend, and in the follow through, the left arm will bend. So the distance the elbows are apart, they should stay constant throughout the course of the swing, not flexing the elbows. That's what we mean by arm straight, and Rickie keeps his arm straight. Final two words of the stack and tilt golf swing are hips tucked. And when we suggest hips tucked, that means that the hips are tucked under the shoulders in the finish. So we're not moving forward into the finish like this, we're pushing the hips forward, extending the spine as we go through. And Rickie does this really well. If you actually watch in his downswing, we'll get into this in a second, he moves his hips forward, doesn't over rotate like a lot of golfers do. Some golfers at the top of their backswing, they spin out. Rickie pushes his hips forward, tucks them under his shoulders. That's the final two words of the stack and tilt golf swing. So we know Rickie does the three key fundamentals of the stack and tilt golf swing and the 10 words like every good player does. Now we're going to take a look at Rickie's golf swing and compare him to the stack and tilt model. The swings we're going to look at are the driver swings. First up, let's take a look at the side view here. We're going to compare him with Charlie Wee, who is pretty much the model golf swing for stack and tilt. So you'll see in the backswing here, both these golfers move their hands and the club inwards. So this would be keeping their hands inwards on the grid. You may have seen some videos talking about the grid, but the hands and the club should both move inwards at the same rate. You also notice that both these golfers are moving the left shoulder downwards and the knee flex is beginning to change. And then by the top of their backswing, their left arm is across their shoulders. This is what we suggest in the stack and tilt golf swing, so not lifting up. Some players do lift up, but they find a way of dropping it back in on the way back down. In the stack and tilt golf swing, we want you to swing around your body without lifting the arms. So you can see both these players do that in the backswing. So as we continue to look into the downswing here, you'll see both these players will continue to move their hands back in around to the left in the follow through. So they're keeping their hands and their club on the grid, and their right shoulder moves down as they're going through to the finish. So you can see here both these golfers move their hands and the club around their body in an arc. So I think there's a lot of similarities there between the stack and tilt model swing and Rickie Fowler with his driver. We're going to switch it round now to the face-on view here. So we're going to again look at Charlie Wee and Rickie Fowler. Now this is where you start to see some differences, because I'm sure some of you guys out there are thinking, Rickie's not a stack and tilt player. Well, he doesn't work for a stack and tilt coach, but there's a lot of things that he does in his swing that are similar to the model. Where he differs from the model and where I think he could actually improve his golf is the way that he turns in the backswing. The biggest difference I see is in the backswing here. You'll start to see Rickie start to move his head off the golf ball. And he kind of resists a bit too much with his lower body. A couple of years ago, he had to pull out some tournaments in the FedEx Cup, and that was because he had a strain in his obliques on his right side. In his golf swing, in his backswing, he's trying to keep his pelvis more downward facing, and that really puts strain on his body because he actually extends his spine at the top there as he rotates, but he keeps his pelvis more downward facing. Now with Charlie Wee, he actually straightens his back leg more, turns his hips on more of a tilted angle, and he extends more with his pelvis, so he's not staying forward bend with his pelvis in the backswing. I think if Rickie was to do that, I think that would help him rotate more. He wouldn't be as resisted, and it would potentially help him with his long-term injuries. Let's take a look at the downswing now from the face-on view. So you'll see what I think Rickie does really well here is, as he goes through, I mentioned earlier, he pushes his hips forward and extends his spine into the follow-through, which is what we suggest you do in the stack and tilt golf swing. Now, a lot of golfers are led to believe that from the top of the backswing here, you have to rotate. But Rickie, he moves his hips forward and extends and pushes his legs up as he goes through it. And I think this is what I think he does really well in the downswing and into the follow-through. So overall, I think Rickie's very close to the model for the stack and tilt golf swing. There's a lot of similarities there. If you want to find out a little bit more about the stack and tilt golf swing, check out this playlist. And if you don't already, please follow me on my other social media platforms. And I'll see you again next week for another video. The most